Hello, this is the future Vlad. After I recorded this video, I realized it's really long, over 30 minutes, and I will be creating timestamps in the description box, so you can skip to one of the sections. If you don't want to hear all of me talking for half an hour, if you just want to skip to hear a particular topic that I talk about, you can do that clicking on the timestamps in the description box. Bye. Hello, I'm Vlad. Welcome to my third progress video with the XpressPads finger drumming technique. I'm doing a series of videos, monthly videos, documenting my progress. If you haven't seen the first two videos, there will be links in the description box below, also in the card up here, I think. Now this third video is 2 weeks late this time. That's mainly because of a very busy schedule I've had with my work, also with some freelance working I'm doing at home before bed. And we've also had the Easter holidays, and we've been gone a few days, and I've also had an issue with my fingers. I'll be talking about that a little bit later. Now this schedule has left me really tired in the evening, so I've noticed that my focus is getting low when I'm doing my XpressPads practice, and I can't really play accurately, at least not accurately enough to post it on YouTube anyway. Therefore, I postponed this video until I got some rest and felt up to the task. Now, there's one thing I want to say. No matter how hard the day is at work or how challenging, there's always two things I think about throughout the day that keep me going. And first one is spending time with my family before bed. I have a little daughter. She's 1 year and 8 months old, and she's the love of my life. I love our time together in the evening. And the other thing is my me time before bed with the pad controller. Thinking about that throughout the day gives me ideas about what I want to do, and some of them end up in my practice, in my demonstrations, in my videos, and it helps me plan that practice session in the evening, because I'm usually practicing for 1 hour, and that hour goes by so fast. It goes like so. Since the last video, I've been thinking of ways of improving my content here on YouTube, and rewatching my first two videos, I've noticed that I'm distracted when I speak, distracted by some thoughts that I have at the back of my head. There's a constant worry that I'll look like an idiot, that I'll make mistakes, that I'll babble, that I'll stumble. The words stumble before getting out of my mouth. That's mainly because I'm very tired at night. I make these videos very late before going to bed, after a long day of work and some freelance work that I do at home, and I find it really hard to focus. So I've had that as a worry in the back of my head, and I think that acknowledging these things will help me get out of their spell a little bit. So I'm trying this now. Another thing I'm trying is I have some notes of what I want to speak about in this video. I'll be looking at some notes to keep the flow going and to actually talk about all the things that I want to talk about. So another thing that I'm worried about in my videos is my pronunciation of English. You know, when I think of the stuff that I want to talk about in my head, it sounds like, you know, British English. But whenever it comes out of my mouth and I listen back to it, I think I sound like, you know, the way the American movies portray Dracula speaking. You know, my name is Vlad and I drink blood. That's the way I think I sound. Anyway, okay. I'm also worried about sounding arrogant or unpleasant in my videos, or talking like a robot without, you know, like just pouring out the words without any life in them. So let's hope that changes now, or at least I won't be worried about it because I've acknowledged it. There's one thing that helped me from Andreas, the creator of the XpressPads course. He sent one thing to me in an email. He said, substance over form. And that like rang a bell for me. Substance over form. So form comes second. Substance more the most important thing to me, to him as well. So I'll take that as practice from him. And I'll focus more on the message that I want to send out and the joy that I get from my finger drumming, and worry less about the form. Maybe that changes as well. Let's go to my progress level. I've been practicing for 3 months and a half, sort of, except for a little break in this month. I'm still in the intermediate section of the course. I've been practicing for about an hour almost every day. I have made a little bit slower progress than I had anticipated since my last video. And you know, Andreas left a comment on my second video saying 3 more months and you'll kick my ass with your playing. And I thought, I think it's going to be a little bit more than 3 months, but I said, okay, let's take that as a challenge, see how long it takes to get to his level. Well, 1 month and a half has passed since then, and there's another 1 month and a half to make up 3 months, and I don't think I'll be quite there yet, but it's still, you know, extra boost of adrenaline for me when I practice. I think about getting closer to his level of playing. So thank you, Andreas. I'll take you up to that challenge. Okay. I'm not worried about my progress for one reason. Sorry about that. Screensaver and babbling. I remember that you know, when I got really worried about I'm progressing slowly, what's going on? I'm not getting there as quickly as I want to. I remembered, you know, this is, I named my channel The Joy of Finger Drumming. For me, it's about the joy I get from the finger drumming. That's why I do it every day. That's why I practice. That's why I advance to the course. That's why I don't get bored. I get a lot of joy from it. So joy is foremost. Technique, advancement is second. So that goes out the window right now. But I've noticed since I took this attitude that I've actually progressed better. So, cool. Now, there's one thing I meant to say in my second video that I forgot to mention, and that was about the technique itself. It's that it feels very ergonomic, very. It allows for a very effortless playing with minimal motion. I think that's very important. That's using the least energy possible needed to play, you know, for the most intricate, the most complex drum patterns. That's very valuable. That leads to playing with speed and accuracy. I think much better and faster than if you're not taking into account that you need to save your energy, not get your hands tensed or make unnecessary movements or jumping, crossing the fingers over each other when hitting the pads. So that's one thing I wanted to add to my description of the course. Another thing I wanted to do at this point is make an honest self-evaluation and look at my strengths and weaknesses. And I think my biggest weakness still is my timing, my sense of timing. I'm still not using the metronome as I should. Also, I feel the need for a structured practice routine. I've been practicing very, you know, sometimes I just sit at the desk after I finish all the work. I'm really tired. I just want to jam. I just want to relax and get the stress out. So I've kind of lost track of this part. I think I need structure in my practice, and that will probably help me get through the technique part faster as well. So I'll take that for the future. And one last thing in this progress update section, I am planning a new type of video. Hopefully it's cool and interesting. I don't know what it's going to be called yet, something along the lines of enjoyable exercises, joyful exercises, something like that. In my opinion, of course, they're going to be enjoyable in my opinion, and maybe in yours as well if you try them out. In the context of playing as musically as possible and making the practice as enjoyable as possible, I think the stuff that I practice needs to be really cool. I must really like to play those patterns and grooves. So I have some examples that I'm going to share in the first video in a few days from now, I think, maybe 1 week or 2 weeks. And see how that goes. Okay, on to my new pad controller. My new MPD218, which was also my first pad controller when I first started the course, but back then I got a really bad one, and I didn't even know it was bad until I got a bit far in the beginner section of the course, where there's a part when you need to, some hits need to be a little bit more accented than the others, and they need to be alternated, and I just, I had to hit the pads really hard on that MPD218, and they also didn't register all the notes. Sometimes I hit the pad and the note wouldn't come out, and it was really frustrating. And when I got to that section of the beginner part, I knew something was wrong, and I returned the pad controller, and I got that iRig pads that you saw in my first 2 videos. And that was really good for a while, but then I had this thought in the back of my head. I thought, I need to try my luck and get another MPD218. I knew from reading on forums and on watching a few YouTube videos, I knew that nowadays not all MPD218s are created equal. Some appear to be really good and with sensitive pads and accurate, like the ones Andreas has in his videos, and a lot of people have these, but other people, including me, got really bad ones. Like, it's very frustrating to play those things, and I tried my luck again, and I got a good one, so I'm really happy about it. It's taken me a few days to get used to the sensitivity, which is far better than the iRig pads in my opinion. Not that the iRig pads is not good, it's really good. I love the feel of the rubbery pads on the iRig pads, and I also think it looks better in my opinion anyway. And I like the way that the pads light when you hit them. They light with the different light for the different velocity you hit them with. So if it's a soft hit, it's green. If it's a medium hit, it's orange. And if it's a hard hit, it's a red. So that's really nice, game of lights. But MPD218 has that red light around the pad. So I'll just go with that now, because the pads are so much better, and the better sensitivity allows for much softer hits. So you just barely hit the pad, barely touch it, and you register the softest notes. So my playing can now be much more dynamic. I can incorporate along the hard hits that I used to do on the iRig pads. I can also have very soft hits. That was a really tough one to get on the iRig pads, for me at least. I'll also explain in the issues section why that was a bit harder for me maybe than everyone else. Okay, that's the MPD218. Now, for breakthroughs and insights, I have a few stuff I've put down that I've been wanting to talk about since the first weeks of practice. The one thing I noticed after 2 months, I noticed that I always thought fast playing, playing really fast with the pads, also with the guitar as well. I play a little bit of guitar, sloppy too, I thought that in order to play all the fast stuff, you need to have tense fingers, tense hands, like really focus on them and get it tensed. Turns out it's not the case. I've noticed that with guitar players, but I just didn't have I couldn't put in the work on the guitar to get to that level, to be that good. Apparently with the pad controller I can get away with 1 hour, as much as 1 hour of practice a day, and get fast really quickly. So apparently the hands and the fingers need to be very relaxed. The more relaxed they are, the faster you can play, and the longer it takes for the hands to get tired. So that's one good one. Another thing I remember I've read this somewhere. Someone said that throughout the human history, humans have been living in the majority of their day was in a state of like daydreaming. So it's alternating very short periods of focused activity, like focused might have been hunting or an animal, or cooking food, or building a shelter, or I don't know, running from enemies, or fighting, or whatever it was. And the bulk of the day, the majority of the time, they would just be not focused, just daydreaming, just being present in the nature or home or whatever they were. I thought that made a lot of sense, and I've noticed this in my finger drumming practice. I've noticed that there are two states that I mostly practice in. Whenever I'm trying to learn a new skill, or just screensaver again, more difficult type of exercise, I'm in focus mode. So that's burning energy towards getting to the goal as quickly as possible. The other type is the non-focused playing, where I just jam. I just let the fingers go, experiment, do whatever it feels. Of course, sometimes this sounds like crap, but it feels good. It's like it's being present in the moment. And in the past few weeks, my progress has been slower because I've been doing mostly unfocused playing, which has been a lot of fun, but now that I'm a little bit more rested, I can get into the focused stuff as well. So I think that was something interesting. Another interesting thing that I came across was the term, if you've heard about this, drummer's high. As in high, as in drummer's high. There was the drummer on YouTube in a video. He said that there's this thing called the drummer's high. So whenever you play the drums, you get this high. You get like really relaxed, cool, chill. And I thought, I have that too, sort of. So I haven't actually really ever gotten high per se, but it does feel like I've gotten drunk. So it's like it feels like when I remember when I was drunk and having a really good time, not worrying about anything, just being in the moment, enjoying myself. It's that kind of high for me, at least. So I thought that was a cool thing as well. Now, another thing in this breakthrough stuff, there's a promise in the XpressPad course, if I can call it that. There's Andreas. He states that in this course you will be able to get the beats out of your head. I think that's something along those lines. So it's in your head. You're thinking about it, but it's one thing to think about it, and another thing to put it out in your playing on the pad. So he said that the course will allow you to do that, and I have an example of that. I have several actually, but this one is from this first demonstration in the beginning of the video. So I'm going to pause this now, and I'm going to let you see that very short beat that I had in my head for a long time, and I couldn't get it out until one evening I sat down and practiced some of the 16th note beats in the intermediate section, I practiced a few of them, and I don't know, the combination just led to me just flowing out this beat that I had in my head. It came out exactly as I wanted it. I hope you like it. I love it. I play it endlessly. For some reason, I just resonate with it. I love it a lot, and it came out exactly as I wanted it to be. It was perfect, and I was really happy about it. I felt like a child with a toy. I keep saying that, I know, but it's true for me, at least. Okay, here it is. Okay, I hope you like that as much as I do. Now, issues and solutions to the issues. I want to touch briefly on a story from my childhood. I had an accident when I was about 11 years old that crippled my right hand. So these three fingers, I don't have any sensation, I don't feel them. I can move them, I can do basic stuff with it, but I don't feel anything. I have very little, I feel very little pain if I burn them or freeze them or poke them with something pointy. I feel very little pain, and I don't. For instance, if I look in my pocket for coins or something, I don't feel. I have to look, or I have to use these two fingers, the small ones, which have not been affected by the accident. So I have this impairment on these three fingers, and they're also a bit shorter than the ones on my left hand. Let me see if I can show you. I don't know how to do that. Okay, maybe like this. Okay, so maybe you can see that they're a little bit shorter and thinner because I haven't been using them a lot. Andreas has made a post on his blog about this. I sent him a long message detailing this story because it was a really big thing for me, and he made a blog post about it, so I'll be putting a link in the description below if you want to read the whole story, or at least a little bit more about it. And yeah, so this was one big issue for me because I don't feel those three fingers, so I'm just hitting the pads is like a challenge. And also because the fingers are, the muscles, they are atrophied, and the movement of the joints and the bones and the muscles there, it's restricted. It's not as easy as for my left hand. And I have found great benefits from using the XpressPads technique for these three fingers, mainly because all the beginner section is just using these two fingers. It's like these are the most used fingers in the beginner section. In order to push myself to work this one as well, which is also affected, I used it although I hadn't finished the beginner section, I introduced this one as well. You can see that in my first progress video, and it has helped me a lot. So I've been able to do things with these fingers that I haven't been able to do in 20 something years. So I was 11, 30, 27 years. Okay, peeling oranges, unlocking the door, all sorts of stuff. You can read that in the blog post if you want. Okay, another thing I had an issue with was there's a hand posture where you have to hit the bass drum and the open hi-hat at the same time with the same hand, and that calls for a very awkward, for me at least, position with these two fingers, and I found that very difficult. That was really hard for me, and I thought, what can I do to force myself to practice this and get better results from it? What type of music uses this open hi-hat instead of the closed hi-hat a lot? Metal music. Therefore, my second progress video is metal based, and it has a lot of open hi-hat. If you check it out, you'll see I do a lot of open hi-hat with index finger, and my middle finger is on the bass drum a lot. So I did that. It turned out to be a lot of fun, but it started out as a way to force myself to do that posture. Awesome. Now, the last issue, this is one of the reasons this video is later than usual. This is one thing that also happened to me when I first learned to play guitar. The skin on the tip of the fingers is very soft and thin. So when you first start to play the guitar and you push the tip of the finger, the tips of the fingers over the strings onto the frets, they create blisters, and I think they're called blisters, and the skin starts to die off, and then new layers of skin form beneath it, and then the result is that you're I think they're called calluses. So that's thick skin on top of the finger that helps you then just push them against the string, and without getting cuts or new bruises. So the same thing happened to me with these two fingers by hitting the pads, and I started to getting really thick skin, and it was good because it was not, I remember I had the IRIC pads, and that needs to be hit a little bit harder, and sometimes it hurt a little bit. It was I was getting a little bit sore, those two fingers. And then the skin started to get thicker, and then it was getting a little bit dry because there was a lot of dead skin on top, and I didn't really take good care of that, so it got dry to the level that one night I was practicing the thumb grooves, which is the middle finger and the thumb at the same time, but in this stretched finger posture, and I hit it so many times during that night that I got a crack here on the tip of the middle finger. It was screensaver again. It was really deep because it was so dry and a lot of dead skin there. It looked like a knife cut. It was really deep, and blood came out, and it was really painful, so I had to stop for a few days. I think 2 or 3 days I didn't practice at all. Or was it 5 days? I don't remember. But I had to put a bandage on it, and so that can happen. So if you start getting dry skin on the fingers, on the tip of the fingers, put some moisturizing cream on them, or whatever. Do what you have to do so that you don't get cracked fingers. I don't feel these, so that's why it didn't hurt too much. But I bet that it will hurt you a little bit more. Okay, tips. Last section. Short nails. I cannot stress this enough. Whenever I feel like I get unexplainably sloppy, I feel sloppy while playing, and I just can't find the reason why. I'm getting warmed up, I'm doing the right exercises, it should be going well, but it's not. And then I look at my fingers and I've noticed I have a little bit of nails. I'm not talking about long nails, no, it's just a little bit of nail. It gets in the way noticeably. So whenever I just trim them down nice and tidy, everything goes back to normal. Nice, awesome playing. So watch out for that. One other tip I can give you, these are things that work for me. I have tried to push myself a lot in my YouTube videos. I'm not playing perfectly. If you look closely, I'm doing mistakes. I'm not playing evenly, but I have purposefully chosen drum patterns and techniques that I'm not comfortable with, that I'm not yet ready to play 100% correctly, because I feel that pushing oneself is always desirable if you want to achieve if you want to get out of the comfort zone and get to new areas and get really good results. So I've been choosing drum patterns that are out of my league, and I've been practicing them until I got them at least to a decent level of playing. And yeah, that's choose stuff that is more than you can handle, and you probably will be very happy when when it happens, when it clicks, when you can play it. For me, it's a much better, it's much more satisfaction than just playing the easy stuff. It's really cool. Here we go again. Sorry about the jump cut. I've reached the maximum file size for the video recording. Okay. Last tip: deconstructing drum patterns and Andreas' demo videos on YouTube. I love his demo videos. He's just amazing. I watch them almost every day, and there's some of them that I can play, some others that I just can't yet play, but I really like deconstructing them, so trying to figure out what he's doing. Some of them are really complicated, but just trying to separate the bass drum, the snares, toms, crashes, everything, just put it out in like tab form, and then I start practicing them, and some of them I have incorporated in my demos as well. And I also do this with the other drum solos or patterns that I've seen on YouTube or in music videos that I like or music that I listen to. It's a bug. And I think that's a really cool way to learn new things and to develop the ear. I've noticed that the more I do this, the deconstructing stuff, the easier it is to figure out what's going on in a drum pattern when I try out a new one. So I think that's a great tool. Maybe you can use it as well. Okay, this is it for this video. This is everything I wanted to say for now, and I'll see you in the next video.